Okay, looks like we are live on Facebook and YouTube. Hello, welcome back, everyone. This is Anthony here with Puget Sound Stormwatch. Thank you for tuning in on short notice. Unfortunately, I didn't get around to sending the early live stream notifications to my Facebook subscribers, my Tier 1 patrons, and my YouTube members, like I normally do. So, again, apologies for that. Anyways, I got quite a few things to talk about this afternoon, so I'm gonna get my chat window set up, and then after that, we'll be rolling right along. So anyone who's just hopping in again, welcome. Danny on TikTok says, "What did I miss?" Head over to YouTube and Facebook at Puget Sound Stormwatch, and I'll be talking about it here in just a moment. YouTube and Facebook, thank you for your patience. Just wrapping up my TikTok live, and then we'll be taking care of business after that. Waiting for a few people to hop on both social media sites, and then we'll be rolling along. Christina says, "Got you on all of them." Awesome. That's the best way to get the most up to date weather information. So, thank you for your vigilance. All right, TikTok. It was fun for a short time. Thank you all again for tuning in on short notice. Come and find me again on Facebook and YouTube at Puget Sound Stormwatch. I just went live. That's going to be the continuation of this. So this was Anthony here, Puget Sound Stormwatch on TikTok. We're also only 70 followers away from 2,000. So if we can get to that anytime soon, that would be absolutely stellar. So again, thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you guys for the next live. Okay, with the distraction out of the way, let's go ahead and start talking about the forecast discussion. Sue in Washington, hello. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to the stream. All right. Let's get all the funny knickknacks out of the way and let's start talking weather, shall we? Oh, this is what we're currently looking at around the region right now. Some very light showers off the coast and some slightly heavier isolated showers here in the foothills of King and Pierce counties. Have some light showers forming up here right now in Skagit, Snohomish, and Whatcom counties, where a convergence zone is likely going to form somewhere around the Burlington, Cedro, Woolley area here in the next couple of hours. So, not sure if I'll be live that long, depending on what goes on here over the next couple of hours, but I do anticipate that somewhere around that blue circle is where we'll have our convergence zone fire up this afternoon, probably around 7 p.m. or so. That's what models are showing. But we do have some of these heavier showers, moderate to heavy showers, up here in the foothills of King and Pierce counties. Looks like this one could be getting a little interesting, though. This one over Carbonado, that's got some higher reflectivity. It's over 50 dBz, or decibels. Normally, once it gets up over 50 dBz, we start talking about small hail and maybe a very isolated shot at some lightning. But this could be producing some small hail around Carbonado and Wilkeson right now. I'll be watching the evolution closely. It's pushing off towards the east-northeast right now. So it's going to stay mostly in rural Pierce and King counties, but this could clip Greenwater if it maintains its strength. So that's going to be one area to watch closely down here. But outside of that, again, the area of greatest emphasis is going to be where this convergence zone likely sets up, somewhere in the blue circle over the next couple of hours. Sue says, "Please slow down on the roads. I live next to I-5 in Bellingham, and the rain has made the road quite slick. Several accidents already today." I agree, and I noticed the roads were very slick again in Tacoma. So, yeah, I agree with what you said there. I do agree with what you said. Take extra precaution because it's the first time in 2 weeks, really, that we've had any substantial rainfall. Even if it's a few tenths of an inch, it's better than absolutely nothing going into the fourth. Christy says, "Hello again, switched over from TikTok. Thank you so much for joining me here on Facebook." All right, let's go look at the satellite real quick. Unfortunately, we have a little time jump there. Looks like about an hour and a half got skipped. But let's see, this is out to 12:36 p.m. So actually, the satellite's not updating for some reason. But the good thing is I opened Windy as a backup. So Windy has a very reliable satellite system as well. But you guys can see we have some clearing right now over eastern Washington. We got some thunderstorms popping up over Montana, California, and eastern Oregon. You can see the center of low pressure off the coast here of Vancouver Island, where you have those counterclockwise moving clouds, that little spinny center there. This is what's left of the frontal system that came through late last night and early this morning, already well into big sky country. We have a combination of high, mid, and low-level clouds across western Washington right now. See these lighter white ones? Those are the higher clouds. Anything below that, these more sepia-colored ones, these are mid and low-level clouds. So plenty of sun breaks around the Puget Sound area right now. It's trying to break out here again in Tacoma, but we do have some thicker clouds coming on the coast that we'll have to watch and see what happens, because some of these are producing showers and some relatively heavy showers over the Pierce County foothills right now. Not sure if you guys can hear it very well, but my dogs see another dog across the street. They're going berserk, so sorry for any background noise. Ooh, I did see we had a thunderstorm pop up here in eastern Washington too. Hoping that's high precip, because if it's a low precip or a dry thunderstorm, that's definitely going to add to the fire probability. Speaking of fires, let's do a fire checkup as well, while I have you guys all on the same page. Still see a few people hopping on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome in, everyone. Christy says, hopefully the smokes and smelling here in Napa Vine clears. Doesn't mix very well with my asthma. Yeah, let's check out that area real quick, because if I had to guess, even though the wind's not necessarily out of the north right now, it's more so out of the southwest. There's no fires currently burning in that vicinity to your southwest. It looks like there's a very small fire that was reported a few hours ago down here on the Cowlitz County side of the Lewis River in Woodland. But it says no other information has been provided. There was a 20 by 60 foot creeping vegetation fire earlier near I-5. Seeing a few power outages pop up here as well, so I have to keep an eye on any power outages, but it looks like these are single customers only, so it's a good sign that it's not widespread. That means it's most likely not due to wind. There are a few larger power outages up here too, like this one in Kitsap County near Suquamish, for example. This ETA for restoration is 6 p.m. It was reported 10 minutes ago, and it's affecting 134 PSE customers between Paulsbo, Suquamish, and Clearwater right now. Also have an outage here in northern Vashon Island. Again, it says about 11 minutes ago, ETA is 8 p.m., 101 PSE customers affected. So we do have these power outages around the area, but they're not super sporadic. Yeah, guys, gonna take a quick water break real fast before we start really getting into the talking. So thank you guys for your patience. Bear with me. So you said rain stopped, a bit brighter. That's good, but it's probably not going to last. These are going to be more of your hit or miss variety showers that we're used to seeing in the spring, even though it's summer. Okay, so here's the number one area of concern west of the Cascades. Zach says, I heard it's supposed to rain tonight for Coupeville. Yeah, but I'm watching for that convergence zone. We'll look at models here after we're done with the fires, but it does show potentially robust convergence zone forming over Island County and Skagit County. But more on that here in just a little bit. So, most recent update came 1 day ago for the Toms Creek fire, which has been updated to the Mount Toms Creek fire. This is currently 86 acres. This is the burn scar that they have mapped out. And at this moment, there is no known information on containment. Just to show you guys what it looks like on satellite so you can get an idea of how close it is to Mount Olympus. It's right on the northwest flank into the Hoh River drainage right here. So Any smoke right now would likely be blowing up towards Port Angeles and Sequim if there's any smoke. But luckily, the wind is blowing pretty good right now, so that should help to mix out a lot of the low-level smoke. Yeah, this is the proximity to Forks, Port Angeles, and Sequim. So if you guys smell smoke in this area, that's almost for sure exactly what you're smelling right there. I think we'll just keep this on satellite to give you guys a better idea of the surroundings. So, Christy says, power was out in Chehalis and parts of Windlock. That's surprising. Thank you for keeping us updated. It's appreciated. Sure thing. Thank you for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Wanted to get in at least one more live stream before June's up, because it's been a pretty slow month overall here on YouTube. So we got the Camp 4 Creek number 2. I guess they ran out of names for these because there's already been, this is the third fire reported in this area of the Capitol State Forest already this spring/summer. So they came up with the Camp 4 Creek number 2 fire. This hasn't been updated in a day, but it says it is approximately 1/10 of an acre in size with no known containment. So this is just south of Highway 8, where it meets Summit Lake Road. Very similar area to the 2 fires before this, one of which was called the Camp 4 Creek fire. So, do have a prescribed burn at 28 acres here in Grand Mound. No recent update on this. It started 2 days ago. And again, it says 28 acres. It is a broadcast burn. This is courtesy of the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. So burning a 28-acre fire just south of Scatter Creek right now here in Grand Mound. So some of you may be smelling smoke from that. We also have this prescribed burn as well. This is Training Area 13 for JBLM, just east of Roy here. And it shows this is from June 25th. The time frame was 10:30 to 2:30, so the fire, in theory, should be out by now, although they have not updated it in the last day. Watch Duty's been a little bit slow on some of the fire updates I've noticed the last few days, but I think this should be a thing of the past. And in case you have any ground level nuisance smoke, it says you can call 253. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but 253-912-2049 is the number. So, Training Area 13, I think this fire should be out, though, at the moment. They're just a little bit slow on the updates. This came as kind of a surprise to me. The Swamp Creek fire here in eastern Skagit County. This has been updated from 0.5 acres to 4 acres. So it is currently an active burning fire. Pretty substantial. Not sure why my bank's calling me. That's a little weird. Okay. But nonetheless, we do have a couple of fires burning up here in eastern Skagit County. And we have at least 4 fires burning here in eastern Whatcom County up in the mountains as well. We got the Borderline fire currently at 1/2 an acre as of 22 hours ago. The View fire, which as of a day ago is 0.1 acres. Then we have the Little Beaver fire, also 0.1 acres, just south of that. So all of these little small fires within a very small vicinity here. And these are almost certainly lightning driven, like ignited by lightning. Have the McKay fire here, just east of Highway 20 before Washington Pass. This is 0.5 acres. And then we also had the East Creek fire here, which got up to 1/4 acre, but was 100% contained as of yesterday afternoon. So 7:04 p.m. containment updated to 100%. Great news there. See, you can barely see it, but we had the Sauk Mountain fire here at one point, also likely started by lightning, just north of Rockport. That has since been contained and deactivated from the map. You do also have a small PSE outage up here near Rockport as well, affecting 18 customers. So that's what's going on up north. We have the Scorpion fire at 0.3 acres. This was lightning, like ignited by lightning as well. You guys noticed on Facebook, I made a post a couple of days ago about an isolated thunderstorm near Stevens Pass. This is exactly where that storm was. Several cloud-to-ground lightning strikes with very little precip to mitigate any fire risk. So that's just one of the trade-offs of having these high-based thunderstorms over the mountains. You have evaporation below it, and the rain literally vaporizes before it reaches the ground. Well, it evaporates. Two different processes there. One more drink break, and I'll be right back. We'll be talking about the Eastern Washington fires as well, because we have a few new updates on that. Okay, so number one concern here right now is the Peterson fire down here in eastern Klickitat County. This one has really blown up in size as of recently. There's level 3 go nows for a few areas. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to tell from this map, but it looks like along Peterson and Warner roads here, just west of the Klickitat-Benton County line. So these are the level 3s down here. And we got level 2s up here along the Yakima-Klickitat County line, including Alderdale Road and Old Ranch Road as well. So per Klickitat Emergency Management on Facebook, if you guys want to look a little bit more into that. That is going to be the best area of information, because this fire, let's see, it was first reported about 4 hours ago. It was a 50-acre vegetation fire, and they named it the Dead Canyon Fire, with lots of smoke, even some viewer posted photos of the smoke. And then 3 hours ago, approximately 1,000 acres, so it exploded in size over there. Then level 3 evacs have been requested for everything south of Peterson Road off of Alderdale Road per incident command. Then they shut down Alderdale Road from Sonova Road to McKinley Springs Road. And then requested for Daniels Road off of Alderdale Road per incident command. And then the McKinley Springs area. And then that's when they renamed it the Peterson Fire about 2 hours ago. So once again, you can look that up on Klickitat Emergency Management on Facebook for the most up-to-date map. Because Watch Duty has been a little bit slow on the updates, I've noticed. Have the Van Hullebeck fire here. This is burning in the Hullebeck Habitat Management Unit right now. 541.3 acres with unknown containment. One of the larger fires east of the Cascades currently burning right now. And I wouldn't want to say out of control quite yet, but it's burning pretty rapidly. I notice it's a little bit hard to tell where these are on satellite, so I'm going to switch back to the topography map real quick. You guys remember the Carter fire up here off of Omak Lake? This is now 95% contained as of a day ago. And looks like the last updated acreage was 11,746 acres. So it said 2 days ago, the fire's final size was 11,746 acres. They corrected it to be 95% contained. So we could technically see a little bit of fire growth if conditions persist before they get it 100% contained. Brendan McGee. Hey, yeah, I just saw your name. It's a crazy coincidence how you just popped up on the stream. Yeah, sure enough, there you are. I was not expecting that, but hey, welcome in, Brendan, and thank you so much for your valuable updates here on Watch Duty. Trust me, it is a huge blessing to get these rapid fire updates when things are really changing quickly. We had the Wagon Wheel fire here. Final acreage was 319 acres, just north of Benton City here. Looks like as of yesterday at 9:29 p.m., they deactivated it, which means the fire is pretty much under control. They dropped all the evacuation levels for that, and Benton City and surrounding areas are safe for the time being. The Tool fire, which at one point was the largest fire burning in Washington state, at 24,090 acres is now 95% contained. This is just south of Toppenish and southwest of Granger. So this fire, for the most part, is under control at the moment, which is excellent news. Also got the Schrag fire down here, I-90 here in western Adams County, off of Schrag Road. Last updated fire size was 81.7 acres with no known containment. Actually, preliminarily had it at 120 acres at one point and downsized it to 81.7. With pretty decent burn scar between Schrag Road and I-90, and it looks like it might have jumped over Moody Road a little bit too. So it's hard to tell, but it looks like maybe a very small subdivision here. It says Weber might have taken a bit of damage from that fire too. So I'll be waiting for updates on that as well. Have the Almoda fire down here. This one's been burning for a number of days now, but has not received any updates since then. So the initial size of the fire was 15 acres with no known containment, and we have no updates at the moment on that. But this is burning pretty close to Pullman in Wazoo, so if we get a big burst of winds out of the west, which we're expected to have or already seeing at the moment, then assuming this fire is still going as strong as it is, I'd be watching out for areas east of Almoda Road along Washington 194 here, going into the western city limits of Pullman. One of the more infamous fires we had, the Upriver fire up here in Spokane. This fire is 100% contained as of 2 days ago, which is excellent news. Bad news is we lost several structures as a result. Number of houses were burned down. And we had embers actually cross the street here and ignite a new secondary portion of the fire here on the other side of Emerald Lane up here in Spokane. So good news is it's 100% contained. Bad news is there were losses, and I believe even the loss of a life as well. A lot of other fires here that have been deactivated from the map, including the Guard Road fire, which was causing problems near Coulee City. So this fire is 100% contained as of yesterday afternoon, and there are no more evacuation notices for the Sun Lakes Dry Falls State Park area. So it should be safe to go back. There's a 408-acre fire west of Road W Northeast. 100% contained as of this morning by the looks of it. And they have deactivated it from the incident map. Again, fantastic news. Sioux said another accident. That is insane. Not surprising, but can't believe we're having accidents when it's raining in Western Washington. You know, seems kind of unusual, right? Does look like about 4 hours ago. I think I might have covered this already, but not 100%. So I'm just going to go over it one more time. There's a small 100-foot by 30-foot grass fire here in Yakima city limits, but it looks like as of 4 hours ago, there has been no additional information. This was likely burning somewhere west of the Westwood West Golf Course. Can't believe I said west so many times there. So that's about does it for any of the major fires here in Washington State. All right, I don't know why your comment got automatically hidden. Brendan, pardon me, says, you're always welcome to DM me about fires that Watch Duty reports on. We get our info from radio traffic or official sources. Sometimes info does not come in as fast as people would like. Yeah, thank you for the inquiry, Brendan. I may reach out to you one of these days. If you know any recent updates on the fire burning in the Olympics, that would be excellent information. If you know anything on that. But this was the most recent update. This was a little over a day ago now. Size is still 86 acres with no containment. It says the fire is burning on a steep, densely forested slope approximately 5 miles west-northwest of Mount Olympus, the tallest peak in the Olympics. So, Type 1 and Type 2 helicopters, enhanced reconnaissance aircraft, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and wildland fire engines and hand crews. So this area is basically inaccessible via any cars, trucks, or anything driving. So be interested to see if they're just dropping people off in helicopters or what. Because yeah, I don't see any forest roads that take you up here. They mentioned earlier that there were a lot of issues actually getting up to this fire before they started calling in the air support. Sue says, praying, please protect the people on the roads today. Yes, agreed. I think that's about it for the fire discussion. We also had a very small fire here in Mason County. That was very quickly put out. This was yesterday. It was reported at around 11:04 a.m. at 0.1 acres. And by the time we hit 1:58, it was fully contained. So that was in this little neighborhood here near Little Twin Lake. Probably just a little brush fire. Maybe it got away from somebody. All the info, Mount Toms, is coming from the Olympic National Park. So unless they update us, we won't have any info to report. There are no radio comms up there. Thank you again, Brendan, for the clarification. Makes things so much easier. All right, let's go look at some models, guys. This is probably what some of you guys have been waiting for. So we have the new 22Z HRRR. This one began rendering at 3 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And let's check out, see what it wants to predict. So this has sort of a narrow but strong convergence zone forming across Whatcom, Skagit, and far eastern island counties at around 6 p.m. this afternoon. And it has it kind of hanging on, but it slides south towards Snohomish County as the night continues. And then it looks like it kind of dissipates as we go into very early tomorrow morning, as the flow begins to shift more out of the west. So if this forecast is right, which I'll have to go and look back at the radar here in a second, it should get the convergence zone really coming together between the San Juan Islands and Anacortes here in the next 25 minutes or so. Let's go follow up on that real quick. And I'm not quite seeing it. So the HRRR may be kind of overdoing the convection a bit, but I'll keep my eyes peeled on the radar for sure. I'm more impressed on what's going on here in the foothills of King and Pierce counties, actually, because it does appear we have some isolated cells trying to fire off here that have a very small but non-zero risk of lightning. Because look, in 3 frames, look at this cell east of Black Diamond. 3 frames ago, it was nothing. 3 frames later, sorry, pardon me, just east of Black Diamond, we have what looks like maybe a small hail producer. And I'll be on the lookout to see if I get any lightning notifications for that, but it's pretty unlikely. Still a couple of strong showers crossing Highway 410 as well between Greenwater and Enumclaw. Those are going to be heading off towards the pass, Snoqualmie Pass. So it shouldn't pose any imminent concern. Yeah, a lot of this is just radar contamination from the terrain, so not going to pay close attention to that. But we do nonetheless have our first signs of life for a potential convergence zone forming between Whatcom, Skagit, and Island counties, somewhere likely in this blue little circle, this blue oval. We'll be watching to see what happens there as time goes on. Let's compare this to what the other models are showing. Because if we go and look at the NAM 3KM, this has the convergence zone forming farther south over northeastern Jefferson, Central Island, northwestern Snohomish, and western Skagit counties here in the next 20 minutes or so. And then this has the convergence zone reaching full maturity by around 7 p.m. across Island, extreme northwestern Snohomish, and western Skagit counties. So not looking super strong though. So I think the chance of lightning again with this is probably going to be pretty minuscule. But we will see. We're going to be watching the radar very closely, and if I'm not live during this time, I'll be sure to post updates to the Facebook without a doubt. And then it kind of has this activity hanging on here around 10 p.m. tonight too, over the northern end of the Hood Canal in the Possession Sound area. And then when that upper level low comes in, we have the wraparound moisture come around. This was suggesting we would have some stronger cells down here near Olympia and Longview earlier. That did not verify. This is what it's showing for 5 p.m. down here. It's showing this pretty decent shower here just east of Tacoma, like over Milton, Bonnie Lake, Edgewood, and surrounding areas. And a pretty decent shower right over Olympia, too. Not sure how well that's going to verify, but there's a reason why this model, the NAM, is being discontinued. So it's probably not onto anything, but I'm not going to dismiss it entirely. You see, once we get into tomorrow afternoon, we start to get this wraparound moisture that moves into eastern Washington, which should bring beneficial precipitation to some areas east of the Cascades. Lori says, dumb. The forecast said we were going to get rain on the peninsula. Nothing but clouds and wind. Dumb. Microclimate theory. Yeah. A lot of areas get rain. Some areas get absolutely zilch. This is true. Let's go look at total precipitation amounts and see what could be coming over the next 60 hours or so. And it really doesn't show very much. Or, I guess it depends on which peninsula you're talking about. If you're talking about the Olympic, the Key, or the Kitsap Peninsula. But yeah, the Olympic Peninsula has vastly underperformed, especially over where the fire is burning right now. These rainfall amounts have downtrended quite a bit over the last few model runs, which usually come out every 6 hours. And so a lot of areas that were predicted to have decent rainfall overnight got basically nothing. That reminds me, I forgot to open one of the sites too. My observation site. We can see rainfall and wind observations. Let me get that loaded up real quick, and I'm going to take another quick water break here in a second. Go check out temperatures first things first. Hang on, trying to get the right zoom. Okay, I think that's a good zoom, so I'm going to drink some water, and I'll be right back with you. Gotta really focus on my water intake. Yeah, so right now, a very mild day across western Washington. A lot of these areas have had a hard time breaking 60. We go look at max temperatures today. We have a lot of 50s here and even a few 40s up here in the mountains. And only a few areas east of the Puget Sound and south of Olympia have gotten over 70 degrees. Pardon me. Yeah, very mild day and lower than average temperatures due to that very cold upper level trough over us right now. Let me zoom out and show you guys what I'm talking about here. Let's go switch to the European. Go to the 12Z, and let's go to 500 millibar height anomaly. So this is what the atmosphere looks like at 18,000 feet above ground level right now. So we have this pretty deep and cold upper level trough swinging out of the Gulf of Alaska right now. And then that's going to move out east a bit. Looks like we eject another little shortwave trough as we go into Sunday morning. Kind of have that ridge hanging offshore. That's probably a little bit too far and too weak to completely block off any incoming weather. We'll likely have some showers, maybe a weak system clip over the northeastern flank of this, move into the area. So showers definitely a possibility there. And then we got to watch what happens right before the 4th of July, because some of these models have actually been showing the potential for a pretty interesting storm system for early July standards. It doesn't show it on this model, but if we go to the American model, the GFS, it's been showing this. Let me show you what I mean here. So see, we have good model agreement on this deep upper level trough moving through this weekend. So that's pretty much a certainty. This also shows this little shortwave ejecting here too, but that's not going to do much for our weather overall. This is where it gets interesting. I posted about this on my Facebook subscriber tab and my tier 1 patron tab as well on Patreon. So still some questions to be answered. I haven't checked the most recent model run yet, so let's give a comparison between the 12Z and the 18Z. You see, it's pretty similar. It just has this taking a different path, a slightly different position at that time. The 12Z, I think, swung this inland, which it did. A 6Z run before that was one of the more interesting ones. It brought the trough directly onto the South Washington coast. So this one brings it farther south, which would mitigate any impacts to Western Washington. But it could be in a position to possibly provide some fuel for a couple thunderstorms west of the Cascades before the 4th of July. So I'll look a little bit closer at that, at the synoptics setup. Yeah, you can kind of see that cyclonic flow around the center of low pressure there, but not bringing that bent back occlusion or this little sting jet here directly onto the Washington coast. So I don't think we're going to see any major impacts from this, but it is showing signals for some thunderstorms in eastern Spokane as well as eastern Washington and parts of the northern Rockies as well, going into the 4th of July holiday. Then after that, we go way in the fantasy land, 16 days out, and we supposedly dry out according to this model run, but take that with a grain of salt. Really, anything past like 4 to 5 days is not something to be reckoned with. See how this looks on moisture, because it looked very interesting looking at moisture in the mid to upper levels. See that little spin right there from that short wave coming through this weekend, and then that's if this verifies, that would look really cool on satellite. This would be around 2 p.m. on Thursday, July 2nd. And you see a clear as day bent back occlusion signature here. You see the dry air coming in around the south side, the moist air coming in around the north side, and this counterclockwise rotation. That would be a pretty uncommon but not unheard of early summer mid-latitude cyclone off the coast. So once again, take it with a grain of salt. Not all models agree on this. This could be an outlier for all we know. It's just something that has to be watched closely over the next few days for any incoming trends. Go and look at vorticity, which is basically the amount of spin in the atmosphere, and there's quite a bit of it. That's a good sign that we have a lot of that spin in the mid to upper levels. So really, really good sign there of a potentially strong mid-latitude cyclone moving into southern Oregon and northern California. Possibly a day before the 4th of July. But there's still some disagreement, again, on the track placement and strength of this system. So at this point, just forget I even told you about it. I'll go more in depth again about this on the Facebook subscriber tab or the tier 1 patron tab on Patreon. Yeah, see again, that little shortwave ejection ahead of the main shortwave coming through right now. Just a fancy way of saying a very small upper level trough. Yeah, so anyways, nonetheless, let's go look at some temperatures at 500 millibars, see how cool this system is coming in here. So this is showing temperatures about negative 23 degrees Celsius, which if I do the math in my head, that's around negative 9.4 degrees Fahrenheit, I think, at 18,000 feet. So this is a pretty cold system. That's certainly going to help support a chance for thunderstorms, primarily south of Olympia tomorrow as well. See, again, that system's not going to do too much, but really, really looking out here for the July 2nd timeframe to see what happens with this. I actually have a new run of the European AI forecast system, and as you guys can see, it's a completely different image. No signs of a mid-latitude cyclone anywhere around the Pacific Northwest. You know, some pressure falls up here over northern Vancouver Island and western BC, but nothing to be concerned about. The good agreement on the system coming through here too. And then pretty good sign that we'll have that little shortwave trough ejection out of the Gulf of Alaska as well. Sunday afternoon, that could bring some unstable weather down here to southern Oregon and northern California, but I'm not expecting any more impacts than that. Almost fully rendered with the 18Z European model. And see again, good short-term agreement on the positioning and strength of this upper level trough. And the timing and positioning of this other little micro trough off the coast. And I was looking for precipitation as well. See, this shows some of these heavier areas of precipitation possible in the southwest interior of Washington and northern Willamette Valley. This would be tomorrow at around 2 p.m. So this will likely be the area to watch down here for potential thunderstorms tomorrow as this upper level low moves in and begins to wrap moisture around it. You see pretty good support too that we'll see some rain east of the Cascades by the beginning of next week too. Hoping it's beneficial enough to help with some of those fires, but there's still a pretty good rain signal showing up on models east of the Cascades over the next, let's say, 3.5 days or so. See, picking up a pretty good signal on that convergence zone as well. Again, resolution hurts here because this is a lower resolution, so it doesn't exactly emphasize the terrain features as good as the other high resolution models. Let's go see what the new RRFS experimental shows. This model's just hot off the press, so. This doesn't show the convergence zone as strong tonight here over the North Sound. Okay, yeah, I am not far enough in range, so we're going to have to go back to the 18Z. So 18Z was a little bit stronger. It still had a pretty good signal on this convergence zone setting up between north central Whatcom County all the way down into northeastern Jefferson County. This would be around 6 p.m. tonight. And then when that wraparound moisture begins to move out of the north, then it has some of these cells pop up over the southeastern Olympics, the Hoya Peninsula and Shelton area, some of which could yield strong showers and maybe an isolated storm chance. It's really highlighting this area down here in Clark and Skamania counties, which is basically Washington's own little tornado alley, but the risk of a tornado should be low to none. However, I do want to show you guys a graphic from National Weather Service in Portland real quick. I think this is on their site. It is. Let me pull this up for you guys real quick. This is from the National Weather Service in Portland, updated at 2:30 p.m. highlighting probability of thunderstorms, and this includes parts of Lewis County as well. The greatest probability is going to be along the Willamette River Valley and up through the Lewis River Valley into the southern end of Longview. Or we could see 20 to 30% probabilities of thunderstorms within that green contour here. And then in the yellow, it looks like around 10 to 25%, I'd say. It's right around 10 to 25 in the yellow. This includes Chehalis and Morton as well here in Lewis County. You can also add other cities like Napavine, Windlock, Vader, Toledo, and Onalaska to this too. Anywhere in that yellow contour. Say most likely timing tomorrow would be 11 a.m. tomorrow morning to 5 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Likely impacts would be heavy rain, gusty outflow winds from any storms, lightning, and interestingly enough, funnel clouds, but no tornado threat. The thing is, if they call for funnel clouds, there technically is a non-zero tornado threat, even if it's very, very slim. Because any funnel cloud under ideal conditions could easily touch the ground and become a very brief, weak tornado under the right circumstances. Yeah, that's the update from the National Weather Service office in Portland. Let's get out of that screen real quick. All right, let's go look at some wind gusts for today. Let's go look at max wind gusts. One thing you're really going to notice is there's this 59 mile per hour gust here on South Whidbey Island. That is inaccurate. Ignore that. Here down near Freeland. Ever since that December 16th windstorm we had last year, this station has been going absolutely berserk. And it's not accurate whatsoever. So we'll ignore that. But has reported wind gusts of 34 miles per hour at Hansville and 35 here at Everett Payne Field, which you just don't see that too often late in June. You know, we got 32 miles per hour here at Pleasant Harbor near Duckabush and Brennan. 30 miles per hour just outside of Seebeck. And SeaTac recorded a maximum gust of 29 miles per hour. Tacoma 22. Olympia 29. Gray Army Airfield and JBLM 26. And a few 25 pluses here and there. So overall, pretty breezy afternoon and morning for depending on exactly where you are. We even have a gust of 34 here off of Bellingham Bay, which models were not quite calling for that. So a little bit interesting there. Let's go look at current wind gusts. And currently says we're gusting to around 29 miles per hour here in Everett. Gusting to 29 at West Point, 26 here in Seattle. 26 Bremerton, 28 Normandy Park, 21 Tacoma. Gusting 26 here in Enumclaw, 26 here at Gray Army Airfield. So not super blustery, but for June standards, it's definitely overperforming. Without a doubt. And again, it's really breezy outside too. I'm noticing the breeze is picking up quite a bit. All right, let me pull up the National Weather Service Seattle site because we do have a couple of things to talk about on there as well. Primarily highlighting storm safety. So even though the chance of lightning is minuscule the next couple of days for this general area, they still want to emphasize storm and lightning safety. Hey there, Julie. Today has been wind and rain and sun, then more rain, and now gusty blustery. Just another day in Washington, am I right? But normally something you'd see in March and April, not late June going into July. That's pretty anomalous for this time of the year. So, yeah, this is mainly posted for the World Cup and any celebrations going on for the World Cup here in Seattle. So, again, move to a fully enclosed structure or hardtop vehicle at the first sign of lightning. It says wait 30 minutes after the last strike before resuming any outdoor activities. Watch for any falling debris and flying objects during high winds. Could be from outflow from thunderstorms, which usually around here we can see outflow wind gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour pretty easily with the stronger storms. Sometimes stronger. And of course, this one's very important, especially on the road right now. Use caution when walking on wet surfaces to avoid dangerous slips and falls. They could also say something along the lines of use extreme precaution when driving on the freeway to avoid accidents because it hasn't rained in a couple of weeks. The first rain after a dry spell is always going to make the road slick. There's very few exceptions to that rule. As was mentioned earlier, Christy, I think, someone was mentioning, Sue, that's right, Sue on YouTube was talking about accidents up in Bellingham on the interstate. Mountain lightning safety. If you're caught in a storm, pay attention to weather on your hike or while camping. If you're on a ridge or an open area, retreat to a sheltered area if possible. And if you cannot find shelter, crouch down with your feet close together. And do not lie down because you will become a conductor quite easily. You want to be an insulator, not a conductor. So you want to make sure that your whole body is not contacting the ground, or the current will travel through you and it will likely do some damage, if not kill you. Toss away any metal objects and get out of a tent if you're in one. And if you're near a vehicle, get in, roll up the windows, and stay away from any metal in the car. Luckily, your tires act as insulators, but it's not always foolproof. Sue says, reminds me of Southeast Alaska weather. Yeah, so currently for watches, warnings, and advisories, we only have small craft advisories for the interior waters, the Salish Sea, Strait of Juan de Fuca, and the outer coastal waters, 10 to 60 nautical miles off the coast. So this basically means they're only calling for wind gusts around 30 knots, or about 35 miles per hour. So shy of gale force status. Let's go look at some heat risks coming up real quick. So anything with the yellow means you are at a level 2 out of 5 heat risk. So level 1 out of 5 heat risk is no heat risk. So anything in the green means temperatures should stay below 70 degrees. Anything here in the yellow means temperatures will be around 70 to 80 degrees, possibly. And this was for, let's see, was this, yes? No, this, let me make sure I have my days right here. Okay, yeah, I was looking out to next Wednesday. Anyways, this was for today. I wouldn't say this verified. I think this overdid it. So I don't think we had very few places break 70 today. We can check on that one more time here. Really, the only places that hit 70 were down here. I don't know if that 79 is very accurate, but there were a couple of 70s here and there, but most of the temperatures stayed. Okay, that's likely wrong right there, but most of the temperatures stayed in the 60s and below 70 overall. So that was likely an overestimation. For tomorrow, showing minor heat risk again across much of the Puget Sound interior. I think this might be overdoing it a bit. Will probably be pretty cool again tomorrow. And then really just the same thing overall. The same areas are highlighted through the following Wednesday. This is using the National Weather Service's National Blend of Models Ensemble forecast. Literally combining pretty much all the models they have access to, and it's averaging it out into a single solution. But it's still, again, kind of struggling with predicting these cooler temperatures. As you guys can see on the max temperatures, there's really no 70s around the area. So I think the reasoning for this is because the low temperatures won't get much lower than 50 degrees around the area, which could induce some very minor heat risk. Look at the maximum wind gusts, seeing if anything really sticks out. For today, it did show, if we go to the interior waters, for today, it was forecasting some wind gusts up in the 40 to 45 mile per hour range for the central Puget Sound. And it's pretty close to that. It's about 5 to 10 miles per hour less, but I think the National Blend of Models here did a pretty good job picking up some of those more blustery marine wind gusts today, in my opinion. Look at probability of precipitation over the next 12 hours. So this actually just ended, so we want to go to the 12 to 24 hour precip map. You see a lot of areas are in that dark green. That means over 80% probabilities for precipitation. You notice too, it's like we have some sort of rain shadow effect going on down here, which is weird how they have lower precip amounts down here. Then precip probabilities drop off as we go into Monday morning, with much fewer probabilities of seeing impactful precipitation Sunday night and the Monday morning. Outside of the southern coast, some of the southern foothills, and much of the central and northern Cascade foothills as well. Are you really live? You're showing charts from 2 days ago. No, this is all brand new information. I'll refresh it just to be sure. See? Yep. day 1 is Friday. That's today. This is Friday today, 8 a.m. through 9 p.m., showing forecast max temperatures. This actually verified pretty good, I will say. That did pretty good. We got all of our real-time data up here. Usually refreshes every 5 to 15 minutes, depending on the station. Like current air temperature, for example, we have some 40s up here in the Olympics. Got a lot of 50s and some lower to mid 60s here over the water. And not seeing any indications that we have 70s at the moment. So we already likely hit our peak temperatures for the afternoon. That is likely an outlier out here because the nearby stations are 10 degrees cooler. So that's why you always got to look out for outliers like this. Yeah, maximum temperatures for the day. Again, a few 70s here and there. Let me blow up the font a little more. Zach says the sun is trying to come out. Yeah, that if the sun comes out, that will likely help bolster your instability a bit for that convergence zone. The more instability you have, the stronger it could become, assuming you have all the other factors that line up, such as moisture and a source of lift, which when you have the winds converging and pushing up, that's your source of lift. That's the ignition you need to fire off these showers and thunderstorms. Yeah, again, this max wind gust is wrong. That is very much wrong. But so far, the biggest wind gusts I'm seeing today in the Puget Sound lowlands was 35 miles per hour here at Everett Payne Field, which is, again, pretty strong for June standards, but it's nothing you would bat an eye over for fall and winter. It's nothing, basically. Hey, Julie says 65 degrees with pinking sun here. Thank you for the report. Go check satellite one more time because it's been a while. Yeah, I can see the areas of clearing moving through. There's still some very stubborn stratus in that area, but it looks like these are going to be the early stages of the convergence zone firing up here over the northwest interior. Just watching these clouds closely to see if anything starts to increase in height. If we see white clouds beginning to quickly grow out of these areas of stratus here, then we know that we have something trying to fire off. It looks like maybe down here over northeastern Jefferson, northern Kitsap, southern Island, and western Snohomish County here could see the beginning stages of tonight's convergence zone coming together over there. You see the ample clearing down here to the south too. Some cloud cover beginning to fill in again down here in Tacoma, Olympia, and points east as well. It says issue June 26th. You were showing the chart with heat risks. Had to be the heat from Wednesday. No, so how it goes is they do the heat risk for 6 days out on the day that it was first initialized, which is today. So the day 1 heat risk is Friday, so the day 1 is for today. Day 2 is for tomorrow, Saturday. Day 3, Sunday. Day 4, Monday. Day 5, Tuesday. Day 6, Wednesday. So day 1 is always the day of. Like, for example, this is where you have to pay attention to the times. I'll zoom in a little bit on this as well. It says this is valid from 8 a.m. this morning to 9 p.m. tonight. And it'll tell you the time that it was issued as well, here in the upper right corner. So this was issued today at 5:01 a.m. So this is the overall high temperature outlook, valid through 9 p.m. tonight. And so they always base the high temperatures off of an 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. range for each day. This again was issued at 5:05 a.m. today. And this is showing forecast high temperatures via the National Blend of Models Ensemble. Up to around 70 degrees for Friday Harbor, 70 for Bellingham. A lot of mid-60s down here through the Puget Sound I-5 corridor, the southwest interior, and the foothills of the Olympics here on the south side too. Even some warmer 60-degree temps here around Forks, Port Angeles, and Sequim too. And here on the lee side of the Olympics, which is normally protected from any of that onshore flow, could get up to 68 degrees here in Quilcene tomorrow. That's just the National Blend of Models forecast. So I hope that cleared up any confusion. And then max thunderstorm probability. So this is the day one. So this is from 5 a.m. today to 5 a.m. tomorrow. This was issued at 5:23 a.m. this morning. Again, from the National Blend of Models, so it's a composite. So it has the greatest risk of thunderstorms through 5 a.m. tomorrow here in the central Skagit and Whatcom County foothills, with 10 to 20% probabilities anywhere in the white contour here, the light white contour, and below 15% probabilities anywhere in the shaded gray contours here. So, best shot of seeing a thunderstorm tonight, according to this ensemble forecast, is going to be up here in Concrete in areas around Mount Baker. Let me also pull one more thing up too. I want to pull up the current day one SPC thunderstorm outlook. So hang on, bear with me. Robert says, hopefully y'all get some summer-like weather there. Yeah, we just had it, but it's going to be a while before it comes back. It's going to be quite some time before it comes back, most likely. Not seeing any signs of temperatures getting pretty close, anywhere close to 80 degrees over the next 6 days. So here's the SPC thunderstorm outlook for today. It was on the wrong screen. Hang on. This highlights an overwhelming majority of eastern Washington and parts of the western Washington Cascades. So Stevens Pass northward, up towards Washington Pass, and eastern Whatcom, Skagit, Snohomish, and extreme northeastern King counties have a very small but non-zero chance of seeing a thunderstorm over, you see it says valid until tomorrow at 7 a.m. Central Time, which is 5 a.m. Pacific. So anytime between now and 5 a.m. Pacific, there's a small chance of a non-severe thunderstorm anywhere within 25 miles of this green contour shown here. So you extend this line by 25 miles in each direction, and that's your effective thunderstorm forecast. Curious how there can be upcoming heat risks when highs are forecast to be in the mid-60s for the next week. Yeah, and it factors in low temperatures as well. So overnight low temperatures. If they don't get below a certain threshold, they'll call for a minor heat risk. We can go look at the actual National Blend of Models and go look at temperatures and see what they're showing here. This goes out to 10 days, but I wouldn't really trust anything past 4 days, in my opinion. So this is around 5 p.m. tomorrow, and it shows a lot of the area only getting up again into the mid 60s. Some areas may actually struggle to get out of 60, like Tacoma, for example. This shows Olympia getting up to around 65, Chehalis 63. Elma area is always highlighted on these maps due to its sheltered location. Shows around 66 for Elma in vicinity. Shows around 66 for Bremerton. 67 for Port Townsend. Lower to mid 60s for Sequim. Around 62 for Port Angeles. And surprisingly hot here for Island County. I'm not sure if this is going to verify. I think this is overdoing temperatures a bit here where there's some more marine influence. But yeah, I do see your concerns as to why there's a minor heat risk, and it's probably got something to do with the low temperatures rather than the high temperatures. So that's for tomorrow afternoon. And then we're out to Sunday. Very similar story here. 60s along the I-5 corridor away from the water. And then we go out to Monday. Again, very similar story Monday. Tuesday, maybe a little bit on the cooler side. Some areas may struggle to hit 60 again. And then same going on to Wednesday. So you guys can probably tell the pattern here. The next week looks around seasonal, if not a little bit below seasonal in the temperature department. So in terms of averages, it looks like we start to get warm again. The first indications are around next Saturday. Go figure, it's the 4th of July. We start to warm up again, and we could bring mid 70s back into the forecast, areas away from the water. You know, there's a saying that summer here always starts on July 5th. And it looks like this year is going to be no exception to that rule. This has areas getting up well into the 70s here away from the water, with even some 80s possible by July 5th. For example, for Olympia, it has around 76 degrees. Has about 75 for Chehalis, 75 for Bremerton, 78 for the Elma area. Down in Enumclaw, around 74. And in the upper 60s to lower 70s for Island and San Juan counties as well. Even Bellingham could get around 73 degrees as well. So looks like summer returns around the 4th of July. But before then, we're going to be hanging around the seasonal average, maybe a little lower than that. Something else I wanted to bring up too. I think I was looking for climate statistics, which I was. Pull this up too. I showed a preview of this on Patreon and Facebook, but I wanted to talk about some of the records coming up for June the next few days. So this is the temperature map for SeaTac here. See this big red spike right here by June 28th? That is the all-time record high recorded at SeaTac, 108 degrees back in 2021. And on this day, 5 years ago, June 26, 2026, we hit 102 degrees at SeaTac, 104 the next day, and then 108 that following day. And then we dropped, as you guys can see, the previous temperature record then is 1987. So we weren't even close to breaking that record high in 2021. It was a nice little 3-day heat dome. I wouldn't say nice because it was deadly, but pretty potent 3-day heat dome across the Pacific Northwest. You can see the same in Olympia as well. So, on this day, 5 years ago, Olympia hit 102 degrees Fahrenheit, 105 the next day on Saturday, and then a whopping 110 on June 28th, 2021, which is the all-time heat record for the Olympia Airport Climate Station. And then a huge drop-off after that. Impressive too is Quileute out on the coast by La Push and Forks. This station hasn't actually been recording since the 14th of June. But still, the story tells itself. On this day, 5 years ago, June 26, 2021, Quileute hit 95 degrees, got up to 101 the next day, and then a staggering 110. Likely due to some compressional heating coming off the Olympics, since the flow was east to west offshore. So, a whopping 110 degrees Fahrenheit at Quileute on Sunday, June 20. Well, actually, it's not the same day. It's not the same day. Just June 28th, 2021. I was focusing on the days of the week there, but that's current year. So, if I said anything about a day of the week, ignore it. I'm just talking about the number here. So, June 28th, 2021, for example, Quileute hit 110 degrees Fahrenheit. You can find all of this on weather.gov and click. Let me show you this from the very beginning. This is what you see on weather.gov. Click up here in the Northwest Washington area. It'll highlight the Seattle Tacoma Weather Office. And then you can go over to climate and past weather and local and pick up climate charts and graphs. And you'll get all sorts of analytics from the climate stations around Western Washington. And again, these include the SeaTac Airport, Olympia Airport, the Seattle Weather Forecast Office at Sand Point, Quileute Airport, Bellingham Airport, and Hoquiam Airport. So those are the 6 sites they use for climate observations here in the National Weather Service Seattle forecast area. And you can see all sorts of interactive charts. You can see record highs, record lows on a monthly or yearly basis as well. You can see the whole year to date. Anything in the yellow, orange, and red shows record high temperatures. Anything in the black here shows the average range of temperatures. And then anything in the blue and green shows below average temperatures. So our low yesterday at SeaTac, of 54 degrees is right on par with the 54-degree normal low. But the high of 66 was a whopping 7 degrees lower than the normal high of 73. So we had a much below average temperature day yesterday. We also recorded 0.01 inches of rain at SeaTac Airport, officially ending our 2-week dry streak there. And here's the chart view as well. So you can see all sorts of highlights. You can show temperature anomalies. All of these different diagrams with many different stats. So if you're into statistics, this would be a great site for you to look at. It shows when your daily records are broken or tied for each site. And it shows you the dates of the records as well, in case there's any biases you want to come across. All right, let's see. How many viewers do we have? Because not very much engagement at the moment. See, let me make sure the streams are still going good on YouTube. Facebook, for some reason, is not showing the right stream, so that's a little odd. Maybe I need to refresh. I think I'm going to try to refresh that, see what happens. It's still showing watch duty on Facebook, and if that's the case, then something's wrong with that. Nope. It was just lagging, but we're good to go. We're caught up. All right, welcome in everybody. This is Anthony with Puget Sound Stormwatch. For any new viewers hopping in, thank you for your time and patience today. Christy Schulz is checking in on Facebook saying, I'm watching. Glad to have you here. Thank you for tuning in. If there's any new updates to the winds as of recently, and the site decided it wanted to freeze there for a second, but it's still a little bit breezy around the area, borderline blustery. The wind's not howling here in Tacoma anymore, but it was howling pretty good through the window earlier, and that genuinely surprised me. So clear up some of the clutter on this map a little bit and look at some max wind gusts for today so far. Or current wind gusts last 5 to 15 minutes. So a lot of areas seeing wind gusts in the mid 20 mile per hour range. The West Point station only updates once an hour, but in the last hour it recorded a wind gust of 29 miles per hour. And the max wind gusts, ignore that's 59, that is highly inaccurate. Recorded 33 degrees, 33 miles per hour along the Tokeland Spit, 29 at Olympia, 29 at Shelton, 26 JBLM, 32 miles per hour in Seebeck, 30 miles per hour Camino Island, and 35 miles per hour here at Everett Payne Field, which, once again, for late June standards, is pretty impressive. Similar to what we saw earlier this month when we had that very anomalous mid-latitude cyclone move through. I want to check to see if we have any new critical updates on the fires since we last updated. I'm going to do a quick page refresh on Watch Duty. And you can find these pages at watchduty.org. Also a great mobile app on iOS and Android as well. Highly recommend it during this time of the year. So no new updates as of now on the Mount Toms Creek fire burning in the Olympics. Probably have to check out the Olympic National Park Facebook page for any official updates on that. No updates on this fire that again started up here in Capitol State Forest, in a similar area as 2 other fires started in the springtime. And we got a couple of controlled burns here around the southwest interior. We have a 28-acre controlled burn here in Grand Mound. And we haven't updated this yet, but I believe this controlled burn is out here in the southern end of JBLM, because this was updated a day ago and it said the fire was going to be out by 2:30 yesterday. I think that fire is donezo. Let's go check on some power outages, because we do have a few power outages around the area. Also closely monitoring these fires up here in the North Cascades too. These are all very likely lightning induced, ignited by lightning. Same with the Scorpion fire down here too. Good news is it looks like most of these are single customer outages, which means it's likely not related to wind. There are a few that have multiple customers. Like this one has 70 down here off of Sand Hill Road in Mason County. And we have a few highlighted spots still here across Kitsap County. 133 PSE customers affected near Clearwater. And then here on Northern Vashon Island, 101 customers affected there. With an ETA restoration at around 8 p.m. tonight. Hey there, Kim. Welcome in. Good to see you too. You haven't missed very much. Just talking about some general weather things, talking about the wind today, the convergence zone that's expected to fire up, which we need to look at the radar again because I've been slacking a little on that, but it does look like we have our first signs of life for a convergence zone forming here in Skagit County. Again, it doesn't look like much, but this will likely intensify as the afternoon goes on until the sun sets. We'll just have to keep an eye on the radar closely and see what happens because each model shows a different outcome. You see these showers here in Eastern King County have weakened substantially, which is good news for the most part. Yeah, I'm just going through frame by frame right now, and it does look like we have that convergence starting to fire up. Yeah, you see that very narrow band of rain right there? This is very likely the beginning of the convergence zone, which will pose a very isolated thunderstorm threat this afternoon before the sun goes down. But can't stress it enough. Chances are pretty slim, and they've been decreasing with each new model run coming in. So you may be disappointed, but it's one of those times you got to say it is what it is and move on to the next event. The sun's really coming in the back window right now. Sunbreak here over Tacoma. Go check on satellite again one more time. And yeah, checks out. Pretty nice sunbreak going on here over Tacoma right now, and some clearing here across the Central Sound and Hood Canal area as well. But it looks like this area of clouds right here is right around where that convergence zone is going to form. You have some clearing here over the Salish Sea, straight to Juan de Fuca, and some clearing to the south. So this area of clouds here is most likely where you're going to see that convergence zone begin to fire up. That agitated cumulus, as some of us would say. Thank you so much, Christy Scholes, for your donation of 50 stars. For some reason, my sound is not playing here on Facebook, so I almost missed that. But again, thank you so much. Oh yeah, it's glitching out a little bit. You know, it wouldn't be a stream on Facebook if it wasn't acting up even a little bit. Let's see how our College of DuPage radar is doing. It's having some issues. It's going in and out. But this is the satellite imagery as of 10 minutes ago. You can clearly see that clearing to the south and the clearing to the north. And if I pull up infrared, you might be able to see this a little better. So hang on tight. Nope. Let's try shortwave infrared. Okay, let's try our water vapors. It's pretty difficult to see right now, but if you go back to visible satellite here, you can definitely see this area of... Oh, sorry about that, folks. That zoomed in way too far. Like, I literally hit my screen's limit right there. This area of clouds right here, that's where the convergence zone is starting to come together. You're getting the winds out of the south and winds out of the west meeting up and forcing the air up and condensing it into showers and potential thunderstorms. So you can see that signature clear as day right there. This is what it looks like in true color, which is pretty cool as well. Because if the sky was clear, you could easily see some of these smoke plumes around the area. You might actually be able to see this smoke plume right down here. Right down here. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but in south central Washington, that looks like a smoke plume from that 1,000 acre fire burning right now. Christy says, you earned it. Thank you so much for your support. Speaking of that, if you guys would like to help support the stream and make this possible during the summer full time, this is going to be the best way here to help donate. This is Ko-fi. So ko-fi.com/Puget Sound Stormwatch is the link. Go ahead and pin that on Facebook and YouTube. But yeah, that is the best way to help donate to the cause. And you'll get a shout out on stream from me as well. So, thank you guys for your consideration. Appreciate your generosity. And wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. Yeah, it's the Peterson fire is what it's called. We're getting a smoke plume from the Peterson fire, which looks like it was updated 9 minutes ago. And looks like they changed the level 3 down here. Okay, there's a much better high resolution map. The one earlier was pretty low resolution. The level 3 here, trying to see what road this is. It's a little hard to tell. It looks like it's off of Alderdale Road. West of Alderdale Road and south of Warner Road is downgraded to a level 2. Still, level 3s for the areas highlighted in red. So along Peterson Road, Warner Road, and west of Alderdale Road, it looks like. Again, you can find these maps at the Klickitat Emergency Management page on Facebook. And it looks like all fixed-wing aircraft have been released per incident command, which is a good sign. If I'm reading that right, it's a good sign. Hey there, Julie Bradford. Stopped raining a couple times to pick berries. Awesome news. Yeah, the showers today outside of that convergence zone should be very hit or miss in nature. So we'll likely see some additional areas of clearing as we go through the afternoon. You can see it a bit clearer here on Windy. This strip of clouds right here, that's our convergence zone beginning to fire up. And radar certainly supports it too. Yeah, it's gotten a bit more developed the last 15 minutes or so. Starting to see some stronger areas of shower activity here. West of Hamilton and Lyman, over Cedar-Woolley, Clear Lake, and east of Burlington. So we're likely going to see this convergence zone start to pop off along the radar site down towards the Port Hadlock, Port Townsend area, at least according to model guidance. It should be starting right up here and then extending its way south and west as the winds begin to converge near Port Townsend and Coopville. We'll be watching that closely tonight. Hey there, unofficial Washington State Flyer. Welcome in, my friend. Tip for watch through the maps for evac notice or any picture you can use your mouse scroll wheel to zoom in. Should work for any member just to help you read names or see things better. Yeah, but some of these fires do not have evacuation maps, or yeah, just any evacuation maps on the interactive part of it. If you're talking about zooming in like this, it certainly helps, but if you can't see all the road names here on the map, then it makes it a little counterintuitive. And you're digitally zooming in too, so you're actually just cropping in on it and lowering the resolution. If I want to, I could probably pick these areas up on a map right now and approximate where the evacuations are. If I wanted to, but maybe working a little too hard there. So either way, you can find all of the links here on Watch Duty. I have the links for the level 3 evacuations and the level 2s, as well as the Klickitat County evacuation map, which this is interactive. So that's good. That's what I meant by zooming. Okay, so you can find this map on the Watch Duty site here, and you can check it per each zone as well. Like, for example, this is, I was right, it's west of Alderdale Road along Daniels Road and Alderdale Heights Road. You're in the level 2 Get Set evacuation. And hang on, my mouse wheel sensitivity is a little too high on this. Anywhere south of Linda Lane here, west of Alderdale Road over to Peterson Road, including Warner Road, are in a level 3 leave now evacuation notice. And I believe my dad might have just gotten home, so depending on how that confrontation goes, we may have to wrap it up. But I'll let you guys know what's going on here if anything comes up. So level 2 evacuation notice up to the Klickitat-Yakima County line along McKinley Springs Road and Dead Canyon Road, as well as Old Ranch Road. So if you see your property here or know anyone in these contours, go ahead and give them the update if they haven't already gotten the wireless emergency alert. These are the evacuation levels, once again, for the Peterson fire, which is basically burning out of control here in Klickitat County. But we actually have a new fire that just popped up here, Highway 14 fire. Resources are on scene of an approximately 1 acre vegetation fire, wind-driven in flashy fuels per first arriving unit. This is just outside of the very small town of Patterson. Wildland strike team has been requested, so this is already an evolving situation here in Benton County. Again, this is looks like between Washington Highway 221 and 16 Private Road Southwest. It's near Watts Road. So anyone living along Watts Road and Highway 14, Lewis and Clark Trail Highway, be on high alert for this and wait for any further updates from law enforcement. As that's a developing situation there. Okay, outside of that, we have no new updates since the last update on any west side fires. The only 2 real active fires we have right now are the Mount Toms Creek in Olympic National Park and the Swamp Creek fire, which is now 4 acres as of 5 hours ago in the last update. This is a little bit outside of Marble Mount. That, the Irene fire, the K fire, Little Beaver, View, and Borderline fire, all likely ignited by lightning the other day. And then haven't received any new updates yet on this Pinkerton fire burning along the Lewis River in Woodland city limits. Be waiting for updates on that too, but it should already be under control if they haven't posted any new updates. Yeah, I see a lot of very small fires and some decent sized fires popping up around Idaho as well. This one was from 5 days ago, but the most recent update has it at 614 acres and 36% containment off of US Highway 95 near Riggins, Idaho. And that burn scar looks to be pushing southwest. Yeah, they have 253 total personnel on this fire in western Idaho. But other than that, no new recent updates for any of these currently burning or past burning fires. I think the greatest area of concern is going to be for the Peterson and Highway 14 fires right now, which are burning in erratic fuels and moving rather quickly. Really anxious to see what happens with this Highway 14 fire. Brendan McGee, if you're still in here, do you have any updates on that? I missed them, but I actually had one of these coverage reporters in my Facebook live chat. This is Brendan McGee. He was tuning in for a little bit, and he provided some very helpful information. So, huge shout out to Brendan for the real up-to-date information. All right, let's go back. I guess we can look at some model runs. Let's go see what we're looking at for precipitation over the next 10 days. This is an ensemble, the national blend of models from the National Weather Service. It doesn't always get the rain totals correct, but you can still get a general idea of where it'll rain the most. And it's highlighting this area here in the Northeast Olympics, as well as some of the northern Cascades and foothills too. These could be associated with convergence zone and or thunderstorm activity over the next couple of days. Majority of this actually falls around the 4th of July, too. So I think it's kind of catching on to that system that could move in around the July 2nd, July 3rd timeframe. But I think the ensemble support isn't really that great. Let's go check some ensembles real quick. So this is a summation of 30 different model runs with tweaked parameters and a single control run. And all of these are averaged out. So let's go look at height anomalies at 18,000 feet. You see really good agreement on the ensembles for this deep and cold upper level trough moving through the area this weekend. And then the ensembles do support the development of a secondary area of low pressure over the Washington and Oregon coasts around the July 2nd morning time frame. And after that, it just becomes a toss-up. You never know what happens after that. Unofficial one. Okay. Highway 14 fire east of Peterson is popping off now. Yeah. Like that. That's what I meant by zooming. Okay. I think I missed those from earlier. See what the other ensemble forecasts show. They're almost fully rendered. So we'll go look at the EPS, which is the European. This is 50 different ensemble members and one control run averaged out to one solution, going out to 144 hours. So this new run is not in full range yet, so we'll go back to the previous 12Z. And as you guys can see, it's a completely polar opposite solution to what the GEFS ensemble was showing in the last slide. Nowhere near as deep troughing. Like, the signal is much weaker in this, so usually this is more accurate too than the GEFS ensemble. Let's see what the AI forecasting system shows. It shows a little bit of a better signal. It's like right in the middle of the two models. Again, it lines up with the time frame too. Around July 2nd, we'll have to watch this closely. So this is, yeah, same thing. 50 different ensemble members and a control run averaged out for one single solution. And this is showing some modest upper level troughing, not too deep and not not unnoticeable. This will probably spin up some showers and maybe some thunderstorms here across the Pacific Northwest if this verifies. But, you know, we're just looking at ensemble guidance here right now. If we look at the deterministics, it'll show much stronger signals. Yeah, so the deterministic has this system moving farther north and is weaker. It has it coming in 3 days later, so it's quite a bit of disagreement still on those models. Again, with the GFS shows, because this was showing a pretty intense solution. See, that would be nuts for the beginning of July. This would be a very, very deep upper level trough immediately off the coast. The morning and afternoon of July 2nd, if this were to verify. Highly doubt it does, but that would be a very robust system that could bring thunderstorm chances west of the Cascades in both Oregon and Washington. But that's completely hypothetical at this point. So we have plenty of defluence aloft, which means air is splitting with height. So when you see these isotachs, here's what they call them, areas of equal heights, they start to split apart like this. That's when you know that you have defluence. And that'll help to pull air from the ground because it has to fill a void. There's a void in pressure here in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and it has to pull from the ground and induce lift to balance out that pressure gradient. But again, I have my doubts. I think it's just the GFS doing GFS things because it's normally one of those, as we would like to call them, cracked out models. And the GFS's AI counterpart has a similar solution, but it brings it in closer to the area. That would be a very fascinating solution right there. This would probably bring a pretty potent thunderstorm event to us the day before the 4th of July if this one were to verify. But once more, remember, we're looking over a week out in the future. This will change. Don't count on this to verify. We got our 23 ZH RRR, so we can check out some new potential radar images for tonight's convergence zone. Get an idea of what could happen with that. You see, showing around 7 o'clock, it's showing a pretty decent convergence zone firing up from central Whatcom all the way down into Island and possibly northeastern Jefferson counties. This could all congeal into one pretty potent convergence zone line across the area. And it would continue into the evening time as well, around 9, 10 p.m. maybe, before it starts to dissipate and kind of push south, and then that wraparound moisture begins to move around. You see the flow shifts from southwesterly to northwesterly. So out of the northwest, when that upper level trough moves east of the area, it could bring a favorable wraparound moisture east of the Cascades as well, which could help to reduce those fire dangers. Maybe give the firefighters a hand as well, because I think they need everything they can get at the moment, especially those new start fires today. So that was a lot of rambling, wasn't it? Go see what the low resolution NAM shows, if it shows any signals for thunderstorms the next couple of days. Nah, not really. And again, this is where resolution kills you. You see it picks up pretty good on the location of that convergence zone tonight. But you see how pixelated it is. You know, it doesn't have as much quality as the high resolution models do. That's why I like using the high-res models, but they're not always super accurate in that front. See, the difference in resolution between that NAM and the RRFS, for example, staggering. Yeah, it's still showing that convergence zone. Not as strong of a signal here on the recent 21Z RRFS, but still, the models at least agree that the convergence zone will be somewhere from northeastern Jefferson County up into western Skagit, possibly western Whatcom County. So I'll be watching that closely on radar tonight. It's even showing pretty good signal for the convergence zone to redevelop itself south down towards the usual area of formation, which is the Kings-Snohomish County border here. This would be around 4 a.m. in the morning, so I wouldn't count on that timing, but could at least expect this convergence zone to push south overnight and early in the morning before that wraparound moisture comes in. And the flow shifts out of the northwest. Something I want to watch too, I haven't seen any other models show this. Maybe the HRRR 18Z, but it is showing the potential for some stronger showers. Maybe some thunderstorms around the Central Sound and the Hood Canal area tomorrow afternoon. This would be around 1 p.m. and we have to watch areas south of Olympia as well, because these are usually the prime spots for any thunderstorm activity. It shows much of this activity continuing well into the nighttime hours tomorrow and the early morning hours Sunday. And then you notice that wraparound moisture comes through and gives eastern Washington possibly some beneficial precipitation, but then potential for more thunderstorms to return as we go into Monday afternoon, east of the Cascade Crest. But this model's still in its experimental stages, so once again, take this with a grain of salt. Should not be taken as a forecast, just as an idea. Yeah, this is the 18Z herd. This is the one that looked pretty interesting. You see, it shows a pretty similar signal for shower and possible thunderstorm activity tomorrow. This would be around 2 p.m. here. And you remember this area from the last model I just showed. It shows it in a similar area at a similar time. We have some model-to-model agreement that there could possibly be a strong cell, or at the very least a strong shower, because it sometimes overdoes the intensity of this. Could be a strong shower over the southern Hood Canal area, Hoodsport, Lake Cushman, Lilliwop, for example. I have to watch out for this tomorrow afternoon, because it's trying to sniff something out there. And then down here in Clark and Cowlitz counties as well. This is where we get most of our spin-up tornadoes here in western Washington. And again, the NWS in Portland has highlighted that area for a potential for some funnel clouds tomorrow. Wouldn't be surprised, again, if we maybe have a very brief spin-up down here towards Vancouver tomorrow afternoon. So, still a lot of what-ifs. A lot of questions to answer, but the lightning signal is pretty good on models for tomorrow afternoon, particularly along the Hood Canal region. The lightning signal tonight on this model in particular is not that great where the convergence zone is expected to set up. All right, let's see. We've been going for about an hour. Yep, a little bit over an hour and a half, going on an hour 40. Looks like live stream activity is not doing as hot as it before. So what do you say we start to wrap this thing up for tonight? Just a quick little briefing on the upcoming weather patterns and fire activity. Did just have a new one pop up here between Brewster and Bridgeport. 1 acre smoldering vegetation fire per radio traffic. Right here in the very small town of Rocky Butte. So I'll have to watch that. But yeah, outside of that, lots of very small fire starts around the state today, and some growing fast, including the Peterson fire and the new Highway 14 fire, which now has a wildland strike team requested for it, which is not a good sign. Not a good sign whatsoever. Really sunny with some clouds. Yeah, that convergence zone may push south and west towards your area, so just keep your guard up. Are seeing some signs. There's a little bit of radar distortion here, but we are seeing some signs that this convergence zone may be trying to stretch south towards Camino Island. It's trying to get a little bit more organized here now. And we could be seeing some development here over Port Angeles and Sequim. But I doubt that that's convergence zone activity because the winds coming out of the south are a bit too far east of this area. Yeah, that's not convergence zone related. But yeah, it does look like we're trying to get something going here right now. It's something we'll have to watch on radar over the next few hours to see if the models verify. I think the lightning chance is going to be slim to none. We just don't have very favorable synoptics, unfortunately. So it's just going to be a wait and see nowcasting because living in Western Washington, you never know what's going to happen until it happens. That's why it's so hard to predict tornadoes here, especially. And huge shout out to the MVP, Julie Bradford on YouTube, for the 10 gifted YouTube memberships. Thank you so much. Everyone else on YouTube that got a membership, welcome aboard. Welcome to the team. Still not sure exactly how I want to utilize memberships yet. At the very least, I give you guys most of the time a little bit of heads up before I start a public live stream like this. But further down the road, I would eventually like to do some sort of after dark live stream, potentially. Which is where it would switch to members only mode on YouTube and maybe subscriber only mode on Facebook if I have the ability to do that. Just, a little bit of more behind the scenes content and just me talking about my personal life in real time. But either way, I'm not going to keep any critical weather information behind a paywall. Not at all. If anything is expected to be crazy, I'm letting the entire public know with zero hesitation. Kim says, hopefully wet for 4th to help for fire concern. Signals are showing wet a couple of days before the 4th of July, even the day before the 4th of July. I'll have to watch closely, but I've been posting updates about that on the subscribers tab on Facebook and the premium tab on Patreon if you don't have Facebook. Those are also great ways to support me as well, and I bet you guys didn't know that I had a Puget Sound Stormwatch store as well. I'm going to pull this up real quick. Store hasn't seen much activity, but for anyone interested, there is a 20% off everything discount right now. Have several designs, a couple of which I will admit are made with AI, Storm Train and the Big Dark, but the rest of them are handcrafted by me. These are my own photos that I took down here. So we got Every Cloud Has a Story, Puget Sound Stormwatch logo, Stratus Quo, Let Me Take a Shelfie, Eat, Sleep, Stormwatch, Repeat, Marine Push, Certified Radar Watcher. This was a specially requested design by someone. And of course, the Big Dark and the Storm Train. More designs should be coming soon. If you guys have any ideas for designs you'd like to see, please feel free to let me know. Send me a DM on Facebook, or you can actually send DMs now on YouTube, I've seen. So, just one way of helping support the cause if you guys want any Puget Sound Stormwatch merch. See, the wind's picking up here again in Tacoma, but it's not super strong. Just link to the store. Yeah, of course. Let me post that real quick. There on YouTube and Facebook. I also have the link pinned on the front of my Facebook page too. So that is the link to all of the designs that I have here. Overall, this is what you're going to see when you first log on. The 20% everything discount, and then links to all of the designs that I have. If you see something that you want that they don't have, like you want like a handkerchief or something, or like a robe, for example, again, go ahead, let me know, and I can make a custom design for you as well, or anything. Yeah, thank you, Julie, for asking. I swear, every time I refresh this map, a new fire pops up. I'll probably be following up with Brendan about this Highway 14 fire, too. He said I could send him a DM. Really nice guy. Coverage reporter here on watch duty. Okay, I guess we'll open up this time to answer any questions that you may have, and then we'll probably start to wrap things up after that. I've got a busy day coming up tomorrow. I've got to help my stepdad change the brakes on my mom's car. Desperately, desperately needed. My mom's short a car right now because of it, so got to take care of that business. So I may be busy tomorrow if any storm activity pops up, but I'll try to update you guys as much as possible. Unfortunately, I may not be going live tomorrow due to that circumstance, but things could change, so just be on standby regardless. You know, ring that notification bell just in case I do go live, so you can know and hop on as soon as possible if there's anything breaking. But in the meantime, just watch out on Facebook and Patreon for updates. I've been kind of slacking on keeping up with Patreon updates. But I'm looking to change that here very soon. Going into July, I have a lot of changes I want to make. Like, I've been talking about this forever, putting out more long-form content here on YouTube, like daily or semi-weekly briefings, for example. I like to get to it. The motivation is still just a little bit dry right now, but I'm hoping as we get more interest, then that'll start to change. And with fire weather ramping up, I could probably do fire weather updates every couple of days if I really felt obligated to it. If you guys would like to see that, feel free to let me know, because I take user feedback very seriously. Looks like we now have a max wind gust of 28 miles per hour at the Tacoma Narrows Airport and 32 here at Bremerton. So wind's still picking up pretty good here around the South Sound and the Kitsap Peninsula. These winds are what's helping fuel that convergence zone right now over the North Sound. And if it wasn't for that radar being right there, we'd get a much better image of what's going on. Might be able to switch it to the Alder Grove Canadian radar. And no, the resolution's killing it. There's terrain features that are being blocked out by the radar beam too, so it's not always accurate. Zach says it's starting to get cloudy over near Coopville. Yep, that's your sign that something's coming. It means your convergence zone's really starting to get developed. It's coming together. The winds are meeting up, they're rising, and they're condensing into clouds, showers, and possible thunderstorms later on, but the chance is pretty slim overall. You see this narrow little cloud bank extending from Silverdale up through Arlington and points north. That is your convergence zone really beginning to get its act together. So just keep your eyes, I'm going to say keep your eyes east if you're in Coopville. So probably set up somewhere either right over you or just off to your east. If you see anything crazy, Zach, go ahead and DM me on Facebook. Yeah, just go ahead and DM the page if you see anything out of the ordinary. Or if you have any updates for me, like it's getting windy, super windy, or you hear thunder or see lightning, go ahead and feel free to give me a buzz. I'd be glad to follow up with you on that. Julie Bradford says, yippee. Yeah, you might be under the gun for the convergence zone too. So just keep your eyes peeled. This is setting up basically right over you in Oso. With the heaviest showers right now being off to your west. But it's a bit disorganized still. It's a bit sloppy. It's not really come together as models are showing it so far. And that's why we shouldn't always rely on models for what the radar is going to look like. Yeah, because it almost never lines up the same. All right, Zach says, okay. Kim says yes for fire reports. I will take that into heavy consideration for sure. See what's going on down here off the coast. I see a few little blips. That might be terrain contamination. Possibly. It's just the radar beam reflecting off the terrain and making it look like there's showers there. No, it's actual showers. So we have little blips popping up here over the Capitol State Forest right now. So little radar blip popping up over Malone and Porter, and then one just east of McCleary over Highway 8. I don't think these are going to do much though, but we'll still have to see if these grow into little hail showers, but I don't think they're going to do much. Yeah, I think the area of emphasis tonight is going to be around here. That's going to be where our convergence zone sets up. Because again, you got the winds coming out of the Strait of Juan de Fuca, and then you got the winds coming out around the Sound. And your flow aloft is mostly out of the southwest. So, if it were a more traditional convergence zone where it sets up over the Central Sound, your winds get split to the north, to the south, and your flow aloft is normally out of the west. That's where your convergence zone typically is. And unofficial Washington State Fire just said the Peterson fire has tripled in size. You remember, I think the last update was 1,000, right? Yeah, 4 hours ago it was 1,000. It has since tripled in size. Fire is now 3,000 acres and has been knocked down with... Okay, that's a good sign. Fire has been knocked down with crews engaged in heavy mop-up. Some units have been cleared from the scene. So if there's any good news, it's that the fire is beginning to be mopped up now. They're starting to put it out. It's under some sort of containment. It doesn't mean the fire will be out soon, but it's just something to watch closely in case it flares up again. Yeah, perfect. I was just getting to that. Highway 14 fire, although it hasn't updated on the screen yet, is now up to 5 acres. Just outside of the Patterson subdivision here along Highway 14, between Washington Highway 221 and 16 Private Road Southwest, south in southern Benton County. This is probably going to get pretty close to any development that's around here. I'm not sure if there's houses. Let's check it out on satellite. I think the wind is taking it away from this refinery, which is good, but it is appearing to threaten some power lines going through the area. Not seeing any development east of it, at least in the danger zone. Maybe some areas down here you have to watch closely along Christie Road, but other than that, there's no houses or buildings really downstream of it. I'm more worried about the power lines, if anything. This is a major route for power lines. I think this is the Bonneville Power Administration. Power lines going through southern Benton County. The dams along the area. So if those sustain any damage, that would probably bring some pretty heavy blackouts to that area. Mark Skelton, welcome in. Winds are breezy in Ladysmith. Would that be in miles per hour? 15 miles per hour, gusting to 27. Overall, pretty breezy around the area today. Not super strong, but for June standards, again, it's pretty impressive. Similar to what we saw earlier this month when we had that mid-latitude cyclone come through and kick up the winds quite a bit. Okie doke, folks. We're going to do one last checkup on radar, and then I think we're going to wrap up this stream for tonight, unless anyone else has any additional questions, comments, or concerns. Do see some development popping up here near Quill Scene. That may be the southern end of the convergence, which it does appear to be. If that's the case, again, watch this general area here for the development of a convergence zone over the next couple of hours before the sun goes down. That would be the area to watch. So, Port Townsend, Port Hadlock, Port Ludlow, Coopville, Oak Harbor, Camino Island, Stanwood, Arlington, Lake McMurray, Conway, Burlington, Mount Vernon, Hamilton area, and Cedar Woolley. Watch out for developing convergence zone with short notice. There'll be more showers coming for Ladysmith later on. I believe you're going to be mainly rain shadowed because shower activity is coming from the southwest right now. Might be able to see it better on the Aldergrove radar, which you kind of can. Yeah, see, very isolated shower activity over Vancouver Island, but not seeing anything indicative of strong showers forming. Yeah, I do see the convergence zone finally beginning to come together here across the North Puget Sound, Possession Sound area. With scattered showers in the foothills and mountains of King and Pierce counties, and then some isolated little showers popping up near Olympia as well. So it may be the case tonight where it's all sunny, a little cloudy, and then it starts raining on you a minute later. Don't be surprised if that happens to you. It's the nature of these events. It's very common. Let me play this on a loop while we wind things down. We'll go ahead and loop that real fast. Let me see. I think this goes out to 3 hours. Let me just double check. This updates every 5 minutes. It goes out to about 4 hours in the past. Zach says clouds are getting darker. And Mark says we've not had much for showers today in Ladysmith. Yeah, I do believe that Vancouver Island is rain shadowing you to a degree. But I think when the flow shifts more out of the northwest tomorrow afternoon, then you'll be more exposed to any of those showers coming down the Strait of Georgia, if they do. And possibly some wind as well. Nothing too crazy, but just noticeably breezy. Because the wind direction towards the surface is going to be changing in about 24 hours. So, again, instead of out of the southwest, it's going to be switching to out of the northwest once that upper level trough moves through. And then we get the wraparound moisture in the eastern Washington by hopefully Sunday, maybe Monday. On the backside of that cyclonic flow aloft. All right. And it's going to about do it for our coverage tonight. Be sure to post updates on Facebook and Patreon if anything pops up. Perfect. Just as I said that, there's a brand new tip. Thank you so much. Let's see who this is from. Hang on. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Gina Foxley, for the donation of 2 coffees. You are amazing for that. Julie Bradford says, I'm trying to multitask while listening. High winds between Oso, Darrington, and Concrete. Thank you for the report. I do appreciate that. Got 14 of you on YouTube, 5 of you on Facebook. So, yeah, I think it's a good time to start to wind this thing down. What do you say? So, huge shout out to Julie Bradford for the 10 gifted memberships on YouTube. Thank you, Christy Schulz, for the donation of 50 stars on Facebook. And thank you, Gina Foxley, for your donation of 2 coffees. Oh, are you asking that for tomorrow? if you're asking that for tomorrow, we can at least go take a look at some of this model data to see what it shows. Overall, tomorrow doesn't look too windy unless you're immediately downstream of the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Otherwise, mostly breezy at best. And maybe a light breeze, but it's going to be pretty breezy today, this afternoon. This is where the convergence zone is setting up. You can see the westerly flow kick in, and that'll push the convergence zone south. As the southerly wind begins to back off and the westerly wind kicks in, that will shift the convergence zone farther south towards Seattle, going into tonight and tomorrow morning. Then the wind is pretty lackluster at that. Unless you're east of the Cascades, it's going to be pretty gusty over the next few days. We'll have to watch these areas closely for any additional fire development, because the fires will likely spread pretty quick down there. Hey Keith, welcome in. Just starting to wind things up. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, the wind forecast not looking too impressive, just seasonal basically. Nothing too out of the ordinary showing up in the forecast right now. Yeah, so again, huge shout out to the people that donated tonight. You are the reason why these streams are possible. You guys would like additional ways to help support the streams and keep them running full time. Best way to do it is ko-fi.com. The link is pinned on YouTube and Facebook in the comments. Thank you to, again, Gina Foxley for her donation of 2 coffees. And you can also check out the Puget Sound Stormwatch merchandise. The store, 5 days left, 20% off everything. Multiple designs that will cater to your interest. If you guys would like to suggest designs or items that you'd like to see designs on, like a handkerchief, a vest, or an apron, for example, please feel free to shoot me a direct message on Facebook, Patreon, or YouTube with your inquiry. And with all that being said, I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight, because my voice box is about burnt out and I need to get something other than water to drink to quench this thirst. So thank you guys all again for joining me tonight. This was Anthony here with Puget Sound Stormwatch. Really just watching that convergence zone tonight, and then very isolated thunderstorms possible tomorrow. Looks like the best signal is going to be along the Hood Canal area, where we saw that strong thunderstorm just the other day. So this is probably going to be the best area to see a thunderstorm tomorrow afternoon, is over here. Just a little early heads up. I'll probably be making a posting on that tomorrow morning too. So watch out for that on Facebook and Patreon. With all that being said, I think this is a W stream. Keith says, have a great night. You as well. Keep up the good work. And to everyone that tuned in, thank you so much. Wouldn't be able to do this without you guys again. See you guys for the next live stream, whenever it may be. And you all have a good night. Take care and drive safe.